So what do zebras, white tigers and humans share? Albinism, a rare genetic condition that affects melanin, the pigment behind our skin, hair and eye color. June 13th is International Albinism Awareness Day, reminding us how much we still don't know. Albinism isn't just about appearance, it impacts vision too, since melanin is vital for eye development and it can occur in any ethnic group anywhere in the world. Most fascinating of all, it's not unique to humans. Birds, reptiles, mammals, and even fish can have albinism, creating some of nature's most striking sights. Welcome to Kaleidoscope with Savithri Rodrigo. Understanding begins when we look beyond appearances. From the Kaleidoscope studios, Catharina Danial, and this week's headlines on CDB News in a Blink. On YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram, Kaleidoscope delivers stories that matter. Follow, subscribe, and stay connected because every moment counts. Kaleidoscope is powered each week by SriLanka Live CDB and The Daily Morning. Thank you to our partners.
Cool appetizer. Introducing CDB Self, the digital wallet that makes life easy.
And now, our rapid headlines, the stories that matter blazing through on CDB News in a Blink. Sri Lanka's worker remittances reached $847 million in May, and Sri Lanka's official reserve assets go up by 1.6% to $6,873. The IMF reforecast Sri Lanka's economic growth, expecting it to slow to 3% in 2026. Visakesa Chandrasekaran wins the 33rd Gratiaen Prize for his novel The Sun and the Lover. And here's stocks, gold, oil at a glance. Activity on the Colombo Stock Exchange remained lackluster with low turnover levels and the lack of foreign buying leaving the market stagnant. Oil prices fell by 6% this week, but climbed towards the $89 per barrel level after the US launched new strikes against Iran following the downing of an American helicopter. A strong US dollar put pressure on gold prices, which fell to below $4,200 per ounce, even though central bank buying was robust, with China recently increasing its gold reserves for the 19th straight month, reflecting sustained long-term institutional backing. Sri Lanka's Tarja de Silva and Gihan Madanpitiya win all 5 Pro-M Latin dance categories at the 100th anniversary Blackpool Dance Festival. Time Out magazine declares Lima, Peru, the best city for food in 2026. The world's tallest church, the Sagrada Familia in Barcelona, reaches its final height of 566 feet more than 144 years after construction began.
You focus on your goals. We will take care of the risks. SriLanka Life.
She is part of a generation that knew nothing but war, a childhood shaped by conflict yet carried forward by memory. Today we step beyond her art to meet the woman behind it, a voice from Jaffna whose recollections of home, resilience and quiet beauty remind us that memory is not just what we keep, but what we fight to preserve. This is her story of survival, belonging and the fragments of hope that endure. Meet Catharina Danial today on Kaleidoscope SriLanka Live Dialogues. Given that you grew up in Sri Lanka shaped by conflict, shaped by uncertainty, What are some of your earliest memories of Jaffna that remain with you even today?
I was born and raised in Jaffna. I was born 1991, so that's during the war. So I have many experience. If I share, the time is not enough. So I will tell about the one memory about which is we displacement like 1996. So we we went through the bullock carts by the even I have the sound of the bullock cart. So that's the first memory of the war. But I can say, the war, quite a time in the war time. So there are some happy memories also. So I feel like there are like in between the war, and also I feel beyond the war, there are lots of beautiful memories with my grandmothers and the neighbors and the Jaffna. So I feel like those memories are important to express.
So you spoke about beautiful memories. We always see only the black side
Yeah.
at war. What are some of those beautiful memories?
Firstly, I want to say about my grandmother, with my grandmother, how we lived before the war. The simple lifestyle with the kitchen. I mostly focusing to make the kitchen because we lived somehow, that's how my grandmother and all people are living through the food mainly. So I want to express those beautiful memories, the lifestyle which is started in the kitchen with my grandmother. So she tell me more stories about the kitchen, like we spend together with the time to make something. And also she shared me lots of stories, with the what we lived before the war, even the how the war started, and also how she lived through the war and things about like everything she will share. So still I have holding those memories.
When you think of home, what comes to mind first?
My house, and also the traditional old small house, and also may the kitchen about my grandmothers. That's how I firstly, I can say that's a home for me.
So what did resilience look like for you in your growing up years?
For me, it's more important women. It's a resilient things. It's about how they manage to live with the war. They fight for the life. They somehow survive through the war, and they, you know, manage to live with what they have, and they converted and comfort to the children they have, and that's how that is a resilient for me. You know, so that's how I also feel like, especially as a woman from Jaffna, that is very resilient act to become more strong to how we experienced to the war and how we struggle, but we still have the confident to live our lives.
What are some of the quieter stories of Jaffna that, the rest of Sri Lanka doesn't
Yeah.
hear about?
This is not about war. Always if I say about it like Jaffna, so everyone asking me like, oh, you had a war and things. Yeah, we had like many struggle and difficulties, but beyond that, it's a beautiful place. Like we have a unique traditional culture, and also the daily lifestyle that is different. Like we always have some, people like more care and more love. So I need to express like for my artworks, which is I had the experience like people more than Jaffna, like more than Sri Lanka, it's a world. Like I want to say about like this is the Jaffna, this is the beauty. We have the heritage and historical things more than the war and conflicts. We have lots of valuable things.
If there was one memory or one feeling that you really want of Jaffna to keep with you and to tell others about,
Yeah.
what would it be?
For me, it's a unity. Like that's how for new generation, I need to tell them this how we lived. That's a lifestyle. So I need to preserve the how simply we lived. So that's how we need to pass the memories through the generation. They don't know about like how we lived with the war and after war, how we moved on and we had the confidence to become more strong. So now the generation don't know about the feeling, no. So that's how I express the memories.
Stories spun, voices heard. Kaleidoscope signs off for this week, but we'll be back next week with more stories that matter.